Hello dears, today we are going to speak about the role of poetry in children's life. Poetry has so many benefits for kids. It's not only a great medium for rendering information, but children also find poems very delightful. Poetry recitation and memorizing is a fun activity that you can engage a kid in. Sharing poetry with children is a wonderful strategy to help them learn new words through time. It also helps to grow their reading fluency, and poems are fun. Children love to learn new rhymes which build their confidence in rendering and speaking. Below are some of the best poems for kids to expand their horizons and love for the written world. Moreover, many of the narratives that came later, whether they appeared first in oral or written form, were poetic rather than prose. So too, poetry and the song come early in the lives of children, before they begin to attend school and even before they begin to associate with others of their own age. They encounter poetry and song. Although much folklore is passed on from older to younger members within a generation, whether it is a generation of college students or a generation of neighborhood kids, the first traditional poetry and song a child hears comes from another generation. The child's mother usually, but more often these days, the father too talk, chant and sing to the child almost from the moment he or she makes an appearance in the world. Rhymes and poems are one of the first things that children learn. The rhythmic poems are short but contain a deep meaning and hence help the child learn the language as well as understand the world. There are several English poems for kids written to capture the imagination of young minds. So, whether you are looking for a poem to read to your child or one of them to recite, we have it all covered. Mom Junction lists some of the best poems for children. For example, Caterpillar, that is written by Cristiano Rossetti, you may see below. Brown and furry caterpillar in a hurry. Take your walk to the shady leaf or stalk, or what not, which may be the chosen spot. No toad spied you, hovering bird of prey base, by you, spin and die, to live again in a butterfly. Or, for example, If I Were King by Millen. I often wish I were a king and then I could do anything. If only I were a king of Spain, I'd take my hat off in the rain. If only I were king of France, I would brush my hair for ants. I think I were king of Greece, I'd put things off the mantelpiece. If I were king of Norway, I'd ask an elephant to stay. If I were king of Babylon, I'd leave my button glass undone. If I were king of Timbuktu, I'd think of lovely things to do. If I were king of anything, I'll tell the soldiers I am the king. Or, for example, Cock-a-doodle-doo. It's a folk poem. Cock-a-doodle-doo, my dame has lost her shoe. My master's lost his fiddlestick, and how knows not what to do. Cock-a-doodle-doo, what is my dame to do? Till master's found his fiddlestick, she will dance without her shoe. Cock-a-doodle-doo. My dame has found her shoe, and master's found his feeding stick. Sing cock-a-doodle-doo. It's also a very interesting poem to recite children's. The next is, as I was going to St. Ives. It's also folk poetry you may give your children to learn. So, as I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Each wife had 7 sacks, and sack had 7 cats. Each had 7 kids. Kids, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were there going to St. Ives? Or the best known poetry, folk poetry for children is a Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's also very interesting to learn for children. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are. The first and foremost thing of consideration is how to select a poem for kids. For that, you have to keep in mind that the aim of introducing poetry to a child is to help him or her appreciate and cultivate some admiration towards poetry. You should aim at rendering a positive approach towards poetry. Thus, you should select a poem that is easy to remember and understand. You can pick up a topic that both you and your kid relate to and enjoy together. Short poems are one of the best options to start with because they can be easily memorized and enjoyed by children. To help you begin, we have complete different poems for your kid which are fun to recite but also have great instructional value for your child. For example, here is a poem about Mary Had a Little Lamb, and so it's also very interesting and easy to learn about. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, Mary went, Mary went. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. He followed her to school one day, school one day, school one day. He followed her to school one day, which was again the row. It made the children laugh and play, laugh and play, laugh and play. It made the children laugh and play to see a lamb at school. Or about Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down, broke his crown, and Jill came trembling after. Up Jack got, and home did trot. As fast as he could, caper went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. Or about a black sheep. It's also a folk poetry, and it has its own origination, about which we may learn about the next our presentations. Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, the 3 bags full. One for the master, and one for the dame, and one for the little boy who lives down the lane. Laughter is the best medicine, and what better than tickling your kid's funny bone with some short funny poems. Here we have a few recommendations of funny poems for your kids, and will surely crack them up, and they will be more eager to learn them. For example, here's a poetry about a cat. I have a cat named Vesters, and he eats all day. He always lays around and never wants to play, not even without a squeaky toy, nor anything, and moves. When I have him exercise, he always disapproves. So we have put him on a diet, but now he yells all day, and even though he is thinner, he still won't come and play. A mouse in her room. A mouse in her room woke Miss Dowd, who was frightened and screamed very loud. Then a happy thought hit her to scare off the creature. She sat up in bed and just meowed. A psychiatrist fellow from Rye went to visit another close by, who sat with a grin as he welcomed him in. "Hello, Smith, you are all right. How am I? I flee and fly in a flew. Were caught, so what could they do? Said the fly, let us flee. Let us fly, said the flea. So they flew through a flaw in the flue. A mosquito was heard to complain. A chemist had poisoned my brain. The cause of his sorrow was paradoxical therapeutical lore theme." We sometimes underestimate the ability of our kids to memorize things, but we should not forget that our kids are like sponges and they have a great ability to remembering and retaining a great amount of information. However, we shall share some tips that will help you in teaching poetry to your kids. Give it a tune. Have you ever seen that music is better understood and retained by our minds in comparison to simple words? You can think of any catchy tune and help the kid learn the poem in that tune. Modulate. Voice modulation plays an important role in remembering poems. You can pick up different skills and momentum for different paragraphs. Add the characters. If there are some characters in the poem, try enacting them. These will help a kid to memorize in a better way. Erasing words. You can write the complete poem on the board, and after reciting a few times with a kid, you can start erasing the words one by one. Break up the poem. This is a good approach to helping kids memorize a poem. Break the poem into paragraphs and teach it to your kid paragraph-wise. However, if there are no paragraphs, you can divide the poem into lines. Keep repeating. Repetition is a great way of remembering the things, and the same applies to poems. Keep repeating until a kid memorizes the poem by heart, and then he or she will not forget it easily. Explain it. It is seen that whenever you explain and give a valid logic to a kid, he or she will understand and remember things in a better way. You can explain the poem in the form of a story beforehand. Thank you for your attention. See you the next time.